have like stress management, and then we have stress resiliency in our bodies. The way the Lord designed them is actually we can build up a stress resiliency within our bodies through different techniques that are all like really simple. Like breath work is one of the biggest ones. And I'm like, how amazing. When I really sit and think about it, I'm like, how amazing we have this breath work tool. And I know it can get a little woo-woo, like whatever, but at its basic conception, right? Breath work. The Lord gave us the breath in our lungs, and he gave us air, right? Like he created us this way. We just need to really learn. And I think back in the day, they probably knew way more of this than like now. We're like, it's almost like we've had to relearn these things, right?
I agree. Yes.
But learning how to build up stress resiliency is going to be one of your best tools in your tool belt when it comes to longevity and lifetime of health.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Type 1 in Midlife podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Slemp. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at 14 years old and now founder and CEO of Abundant Health with Melissa. And as a certified health coach, I know the unique challenges of managing diabetes in midlife and beyond. So I've created a coaching model that has empowered hundreds of women to thrive despite their diagnosis. And each week, I'll bring you conversations and strategies with guest experts, along with insights from my own 40 plus years of living with type 1 diabetes. I'll also share how my faith empowers me both emotionally and helps me to navigate the daily challenges. So if you're a woman ready to redefine your diabetes journey, this podcast is for you. So before we dive in, remember this podcast isn't a substitute for personalized medical advice. Always consult with your physician or medical professional before making any changes to your diet, insulin dosages, or healthcare plan. Hello, today we share I share a love for functional medicine and the importance of addressing root causes, especially when symptoms related to hormones affect blood sugar balance as well. And today I welcome Lacy Lain. She's a certified functional blood work specialist and functional medicine health and nutrition coach. She's the founder and CEO of Lacy Lain Wellness and the creator of the Lain Protocol for optimal balanced health. She's an expert in women's hormone and functional health, and she is an international best-selling author featured in major publications like Her View from Home. Lacy speaks at international health summits and women's events, and she hosts her own show, Functional Medicine for Women, dedicated to empowering women to take control of their health. And today, Lacy shares her journey, quite a background. She has her own story of why she is doing what she's doing and what inspires her to help others, and particularly during hormonal shifts and irregular cycles, as we are seeing in perimenopause. So stay tuned to learn more about that. And she explains how these changes can lead to anxiety, cortisol imbalances, and ultimately blood sugar issues, right? So, and she explains the difference between functional and Western medicine, how important it is to address root cause. And the root cause is, instead of just treating the symptoms. I share my recent struggle with skin rashes. If you've been following me along on social, you may have picked up on that. And despite doing all the things and my own consistent habits, I was discovering, and I continue to work through this as we speak, discovering the imbalance of my gut microbiome. And that really is the root cause. So I am happy to have finally gotten to that conclusion and to put my own kind of thoughts aside, knowing that as hard as we do work and focus on our health and the practices that we do every day, sometimes, hormones and living with an autoimmune like type 1 diabetes can impact even all the right things that we do, which is so important for us to really pay attention to things like skin rashes and to understand what the body is trying to tell us. And today she shares a story. We talk about breathing and circadian rhythm, and she shares some client success stories around these topics. And she talks about some essential supplements that women like you and I should consider, some things that we both agree on and that we both do in practice, and really encourage our clients to, to learn more about what their needs are in these areas of vitamins and minerals to help us support all the things that we're trying to do, right? And, to live a more of a preventive approach to our health, it sure is shorter, and it tends to be more pain-free and saves us money too. And we can be on, again, the front end of how we live and operate and, again, function every day. That's the optimal word today. And you can find the links right here in the show notes to connect with Lacy Lain and to listen into her podcast. And like what you hear today, if you like what we have to hear today, this is a fun conversation. Please take a picture of this episode and share it on social media, and be sure to tag Lacy and myself. And we hope you enjoy this conversation as much as we did recording it. Well, hello and welcome. We are back in here this week. Lacy, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I'm so glad that you reached out. I had a chance to meet you online and get to know you. So tell us, of course, I did a little intro, like I do all my guests, about all the things that you're doing. But if you could share, maybe just start at the top as far as your story, and why is this so important for you? And why do we need to know what functional health is? That's a new term. Yeah. And it's important. I think that's it's a good opportunity just to explain what the difference between, Western medicine and what functional health really is.
Okay. I'm going to start with my story, and I'll try to as quickly as possible. And then I will definitely talk about the difference in the two. And probably throughout my story, I'll tell that. But okay. So I've always had hormone issues to start off, like always. I've never had a regular cycle. So that has just been like my life. I actually did not even know that you could like fix that with anything other than birth control. I took birth control once as a teenager after like a month-ish long period, and it was terrible. That's the only time that my dad ever let me stay home from school for like period related issues. But it was because I was like throwing up. Is horrible. I'm not a fan of birth control. That was the only time I took it. And after I finished that I always say after I finished that little yellow box, I was done with it. But then fast forward, I get married, and my husband, when our oldest daughter was 4 months old, he was diagnosed with leukemia the first time, and he went through, was in remission. Everything was fine. We moved forward. I feel like the first time that he had leukemia, and he would say this too, like he was just ready to beat it, like ready to fight. And the second time he was diagnosed, we had 3 kids at that time. Our youngest 2, I think, were like 18 months. No, yeah, 18. They were like my youngest 2 are only 6 months apart. So they were little, and my oldest was like 3. So it was a lot. And he ended up having to have a stem cell transplant. And during that time, so they had to first go and do a round of chemo. So he was in the hospital for like 30 days. And in that time, life just hit big time. Like, I feel like I have never really struggled with depression, like maybe some situational depression, but it hit pretty hard then. And with him, he would say for him as well. And then we came home for a month because they had to do all kinds of testing. You have to meet with like a psychologist, a psychiatrist. Like, they have to make sure that you're like mentally prepared to go through a stem cell transplant before they can do it. But they also had to check his body, make sure his body could handle it. And in that time, when we were going back and forth to doctor's appointments for him to, see if he was even able to do a stem cell transplant, I started my period. And that period did not stop for 6 months. Wow. And after, like, we were over there at the hospital, we had to live like on the property or close, like within 15 minutes for the first like 100-ish days because, if anything were to happen, he would need to be like right back at the hospital. And we were there every
Mm-hmm.
day anyway, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and so I'm on my period this entire time, and we got home the week that I was like so excited to come home because we'd already been quarantining for like, because his immune system was like not there. And so we got home, and that week I was like, I'm on our way home. I remember telling my stepmom, like, I'm going to get to go see people, like probably there was a new coffee shop. And I was like, I'll go and like, I'll see everybody, whatever. And then COVID hit and the whole world shut down.
Right.
So we just continued being quarantined. And
Mm.
and I did get to go to doctor's appointments in that time. And so and beforehand I had gone to just check it out. Like I was like, okay, I've been on my period for several weeks. I need to go check this out before we go into the hospital and we're there for 100 days.
Mm-hmm.
And my doctor told me I really needed surgery, but they gave me hormones in the meantime because we didn't have time for surgery. I was about to go be at the hospital with him. And
Yeah.
anyway, long story short, I gained like 40 pounds in that time frame when we were in the hospital from being on this hormone that I was taking. It didn't actually help. I still bled the whole time. And after we got out, we got home, COVID hit, we're stuck here. And I started going to doctor's appointments, trying to figure out what's going on with my body. I went to several, just trying to get like second opinions, and everybody just wanted to give me birth control and metformin. And I did not want to take any more medication. I have never been a big medication person my entire life. But after taking that hormone while he was in the hospital, gaining the 40 pounds, it did not do anything to my cycle.
Mm-hmm.
I did not want to go on anything else. And they also had me on iron because I was severely anemic at that point, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, what happened during that time, I had 2 iron transfusions, which I had an anaphylactic reaction to, so I'll never do that again.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
the last OBGYN that I talked to told me, and this was around the 5-month mark of being on my period, told me nothing is wrong with you. Like maybe we have some depression, anxiety, like maybe it's in your head. And I was like, I am sorry. Like it really messed with me though. Like I came home and it really messed with me. But I got down on my knees. I think I was finally at a point of surrender. And I just got home after that appointment. My husband had the kids because I had the doctor's appointment. And I just got home and I came and I laid down in my living room, or didn't lay down. I got down on my knees in my living room and I just started praying, asking the Lord,
Mm.
I'm being emotional about this, but I just prayed to
Oh,
the Lord, like,
yeah.
okay, if this is something that like, if this is my thorn in my side, my burden to carry, right? That's fine. I will carry it. But I need wisdom on how to move forward because
Mm.
I honestly was at the lowest I've ever been. Just anxiety, depression. I didn't even really understand people with anxiety. If anything came out of it, like an empathy for people that deal with anxiety definitely came from that because I didn't even understand it. I was one of those like, well, put your big girl panties on and like keep
Right.
going, right?
And
Like that's just how I
power.
have lived my life. But like
Mm-hmm.
anxiety is a real legit thing, and it's a chemical thing that goes on in our bodies, right? I
Sure.
didn't know that at the time, and so I just really felt like the Lord calling me to go back to school. And I'm like, okay, go back to school. What does that look like? And started searching, researching. Literally spent months and months researching where to go to school, what to even
Mm.
go to school for, to learn how to get like to fix my body. And
Wow.
I obviously landed on functional medicine. I went back and got a certification, and I've had several certifications. I feel like once you have one, you like get addicted to them a little bit, and like
Yeah.
keep like because you want to learn and know more,
Yes.
right?
We're
And like
constant learners.
yes.
Yes.
And once you start
Mm-hmm.
seeing clients, it's like, oh, well, I need to keep learning, like, so I can keep teaching them as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, anyway, so I landed on functional medicine. And to talk about functional medicine and Western medicine, I always like to tell people, Dr. Jen Simmons is actually the one that I heard this from, and it has stuck with
Oh, yes. And then I'm going to interrupt you because she's been
me.
on
Okay.
the show. So
Oh,
love
she
Dr.
has. That's
Jen.
amazing. I
Yes.
love her too.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she always says that Western medicine is really good at acute care and functional
Mm-hmm.
medicine is really good at chronic care.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that is true. And I think one of the things I looked at going into like naturopathy, things like that, because I wanted to do it naturally. I wanted to do it all naturally. I believe wholeheartedly we have everything that we need. And that the Lord is the great physician. And so like he could show me that, like how to heal my body through that. Right. And
Mm-hmm.
um, but the reason that I like functional medicine is that it doesn't discount Western medicine. It is a holistic, collaborative effort. Like I was talking with a lady this morning on a call, and she has two appointments next month with her OBGYN and her PCP. And I think oftentimes in the holistic world, that's kind of like, no, that's like, don't do that, right? Like, just come
Mm-hmm.
here. But
Mm-hmm.
in functional medicine, I feel like we're looking at the whole person. We want the whole team working on it, right? Like, and I'm not a big proponent, I'll be honest, of Western medicine. I would rather go the holistic route if possible, right? Like that's what I always tell people. We want to go holistic, natural first,
Mm-hmm.
but we do have this wisdom, especially in acute care when it comes to Western medicine. And so we don't want to discount
Yes,
that either. So
absolutely.
functional medicine kind of incorporates all of it for
Mm-hmm.
the whole person.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would say, like functional medicine is kind of known for, is getting to the root of an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes, and I don't think it's any one doctor's fault, right? I think it's just the training
It's the
and
training.
system,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. It's just a
System
hole in
that
the
failed
system.
us. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that Western medicine, they are trained to prescribe medication
Mm-hmm.
for chronic health issues.
Yeah.
Whereas functional medicine, we want to get to the root of that issue. We want to
Mm-hmm.
know what's really going on. And then we want to go in and we want to help people through lifestyle medicine. Lots of people use supplements. I like supplements. I think in the holistic natural world, right? Like a supplement is as close to a quick fix, not that they're quick fixes, but
That's
as
true.
close as we can
Yeah.
get, right?
Just kind of
Um,
filling in the gaps. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the
That's
gap.
kind of,
But
yeah.
yeah, we always say it's like to supplement, right? Or to support your body through
Mm-hmm.
getting back in order. That's what they're used for. That's what we want to use them for. And so anyway, so that would be, if I was kind of trying to explain both, sorry, that was a lot of talking.
No, and I love your passion. You and I have a lot in common. I studied at IIN. I'm not sure the school that you went to, so
I
you're
went to
functional.
Functional Medicine Coaching Academy through I.
Okay. Yeah, awesome stuff. And, I'm just going to throw this out there because we're kind of like in the left field. People don't quite understand us because, this is getting more and more mainstream. And I loved having Dr. Jen Simmons on here. It was earlier in the year, is when her episode aired. And another great doctor, Dr. Tabitha Barber. And I learned from each of them from each other. So it was a
Yeah.
great, and I was just so, so blessed to have them both on here. Just not only women, experts in their field, but they have their own story. So
Yeah.
I'm a big believer. And, I was talking to you before we hit record today about a skin issue that I have been dealing with. So we're recording this in late June. So since December of 2023 is when it just started to kind of pop up and surface. And I've gone through all the routes. I went to the dermatologist. Obviously, they did what they did. Ran some tests, did an ANA test, which is the autoimmune nuclear antibody test. I think I'm saying that right. And had a biopsy on the skin, some of the samples. I really thought I had lupus just based on another dermatologist who doesn't live close to me, but she was just a great friend that I could refer to, send her pictures of my skin. And she's like, gosh, you've already got one autoimmune. Mm-hmm. So they ran the test. Nothing came back conclusive with that. So I was still at a dead loss. I was like, okay, and like you, I want to get to the root cause. And the doctors will just tell you, well, it's eczema. Yeah. Well, eczema is a symptom of something going on deeper. So, and that is very frustrating. And I continue to be working on this. So this is something I am still processing. I ended up going on a 30-day cleanse, which did do some things, but what it did was it erupted sores all over my body and the back of my legs. So the 30 days, I ended up stopping on day 17 because I was just freaking out. And I'm being completely honest, because I didn't really know if it was hurting or helping. Mm-hmm. So as we speak, I am going on and I finally got in touch with somebody I do trust, and she is a functional medicine doctor. So yeah. just to say that we are all, no matter what your path is, when something like this comes up and we're frustrated, and I've had those moments of just I finally broke down a few weeks ago because I was like you, I was just being tough. I was just kind of power through it. This is just another thing. And I just finally just had to kind of release it and just say, Lord, show me, because we can be overwhelmed with choices as well. And like you, doing all the right things. I live so not strict. I don't like the word strict, but um, very consistent with my care with diabetes. Good health, good practices. I'm like, why is this happening? So it's just know that you're not alone. Things can happen for any of us. None of us are immune to these things that can kind of come into our body and say, hey, I'm not happy right now.
Yeah.
Well, waving the flag, pay attention. And unfortunately, it's taken me a little bit longer to kind of get there, but I am going to be starting a brand new protocol recommended from this functional medicine doctor that I just tapped into yesterday. This is how new this is. Wow. So I'm excited for solutions.
Yeah.
Solutions, without the steroid creams, which is what they give you.
Yeah.
Which is, again, it's acute. That'll take care of the outbreak. But again, it's not going to prevent it from happening again. So again, you got to get to the reason, got to get to the root reason. So and so what is, you mentioned you mentioned functional health, but so when we think about that, because it really is about the whole body, just like I just explained, my skin stuff going on. And then you talked about your hormonal shifts and the extended menstrual cycle. That is just unbelievable. So what was your solution for that?
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah. Oh, that's okay. Yeah. Because we're all sitting here like, well, gosh, what happened? We want to know.
Okay. So I started with nutrition and lifestyle medicine. And I will say, and I think this is why I said this about supplements a while ago. It took me a really, really long time, like almost 2 years to get my cycle back in order. And actually in order for the first time ever in my life. I had never had normal cycles until now. And I'm like, wow, if I had known what I know now back then, I could have had normal cycles for most of my life. Right. But I didn't. So I started with nutrition and then started implementing some lifestyle medicine factors. And then after I did the Functional Medicine Coaching Academy, I did some more certifications, and then I did a blood work certification. And that is where I learned how to read my own blood work and use that to create a targeted protocol for my body specifically. And when I did that, and I had seen changes, I would have definitely the depression, anxiety, that kind of stuff. That was with just the lifestyle medicine. That piece shifted fairly quickly. But to really get to where I'm at now with regular cycles, it took going in and figuring out, again, the root of what was going on. And then I used supplements and continued. I think I want to add this because a lot of people think I'll just get a protocol and it'll be it'll be a quick fix and then I'll move forward with my life. But we have to have all of the pieces. We have to have the lifestyle medicine and we have to have a supplement protocol. And I believe that wholeheartedly because when I did that, the shift that happened then, I started having regular cycles almost immediately following that protocol. And I believe wholeheartedly it's because I had done the other work
first
to that point.
Just right. Kind of strengthening that foundation. Yeah. Because it is about that, isn't it?
You could do a protocol and you might get your body back in order for a little bit. But if you keep living the lifestyle that you're living, kept you in chronic health, right? Then in 6 months, that's what I tell all my clients. You can just have the protocol. That's fine. But if you don't do the lifestyle piece of it, because my thing is to, we talk about functional and Western medicine. Western medicine likes to give medication. That's what we know, right? There's a pill for that, right? And so a lot of times there's a big mental shift that has to happen with my clients because they also think supplements are that too. And I don't ever want them to think supplements are just a pill for that, right? We don't want people being on big, heavy protocols for life. That's not what they're designed for. They're just designed to supplement while you get your body in order. And then the lifestyle, the nutrition, that should carry forward. That's the goal. So I tell them all the time, if you miss the lifestyle piece, you're going to be back scheduling another call with me in 6 months
Mhm.
to a year saying, hey, something's going wrong. And I'm going to say, yeah, it is, because you didn't continue with the lifestyle piece. You kind of ignored that because you just wanted the quick fix protocol. So
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's
really
kind of
good
how for me I
information.
did it.
Hmm.
I did the lifestyle piece, definitely saw shifts with the lifestyle piece, huge shifts. But to really get my cycle back in order, cycle syncing and creating a protocol for my specific body, pinpointing exactly what was going on in my body, and then going in and supporting my body to get to where it can heal itself. Because the goal is, like, these supplements can do like great things, right? But the goal is that they're just supporting our body. They're just supplementing our bodies, because our bodies are created to heal themselves. I always tell people
Hmm.
it's like when my kids get a cut on their finger, they all want a
Hmm.
band-aid, right? Well, a
Hmm.
band-aid's not healing it. Your body's healing itself. That's why we have
Hmm.
platelets that go to the surface and coagulate and create a scab, right? Like, that's your body
Right.
healing itself. That's what we're
Hmm.
designed from the inside out to do,
Hmm.
all the way up the communication chain in our bodies. And so, you know, we want to support our bodies with these supplements in order to let them do what they're created to do, which was to heal themselves.
Yeah, that's
So
really good.
that's
And
the goal.
yeah, I like that. And I'm going to talk supplements in a second, but just to take a step back, I wanted to, something that's been coming up in my community of women, because generally speaking, most of my listeners do live with type 1 and they're above 40-ish.
Mhm.
But something that's been coming up lately a lot, it's funny how questions kind of come in droves. And it's about, figuring out what stage of hormonal stage they're in,
Mhm.
and along with obviously managing blood sugar and insulin and all of that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
the irregular cycles, and I don't know if this is something you can speak on, because it lasts for different times.
Right.
There's no two women alike as far as what that's going to look and feel like.
Mhm.
But what would support that? I'll call it the in-between stage when they're still cycling. And what happens, this is what happens with blood sugar, because when estrogen falls, and I'm sure this is something you know as well, when those hormones are dropping, low estrogen, this happens throughout throughout all women's reproductive cycle. But what happens when we are getting irregular with the cycles, and we can't necessarily track it as well
Mhm.
because there is no consistency.
Yeah. Mhm.
So the women that were really in tune with their cycles and the impact it's having on insulin resistance when their estrogen is low during that phase of the cycle, now they're like, they don't know which way is up because they can't predict it anymore. Do you have any suggestions around what they can do? The only thing I have been able to really speak into at this point is the fact, um, and I think it's important as we're hitting into this phase of life with diabetes, when hormones are changing, is to really be even more in tune with what they're doing, how they're feeling, and obviously their cycle. And we wear these amazing things called CGMs, which give us all the data. So we're
Yeah.
real lucky nowadays. And for those that are on insulin pumps, there's information to help kind of, that information is kind of like giving you the data so you better understand your trends. So that's the good news.
Right.
But do you have any suggestions on that phase where the cycles are not regular?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say definitely focus on nutrition during that
Mhm.
time. And it's all the same answers, I feel like, right? Focus on nutrition, focus on strength training. And I would say building up to that. I think that's something that we talk about a lot is before you even get to that phase. Like, we want to catch women early so they can be doing strength training beforehand and really get a hold of their nutrition beforehand. But if you have not done that, I would start small if you have to. I
Mhm.
actually, one of my friends just launched a new app. It's called the Stronger Collective, and we have women. There's a woman in there that does 40 plus, but we also have I'm not sure exactly what she's going to call it, but we've been calling it the Relentless Grace Program.
Mhm.
And it starts you off small with like bedside workouts and builds you up to full blown workouts throughout the day,
Mhm.
or not throughout the day, but throughout the like course of that program. And the reason I say that is because for somebody that hasn't been doing that, to add it in can be very overwhelming. But that's something I would definitely do. I think, we all know muscle mass is, they always say that's like the longevity muscle, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Big
so
believer. Yes.
that, and it plays a huge role in our hormones as well. And so
Yeah.
I think that is probably one of the best things. And then, and this is my personal opinion, just want to like disclaimer, this is just an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if you're familiar with Young Living essential oils, but they have one
Sure.
called Progescence Plus. And
Mm-hmm.
personally, when there are certain times of the month when I'm doing my cycle syncing stuff, that I use that specifically because, we do have drops in estrogen, and we don't, we also don't want like estrogen, or not drops, but
Dominance.
progesterone. We don't want estrogen dominance, all these things, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
I would say maybe utilizing that. And again, like we have all this data, right? Because we're all wearing
Yeah.
something. Um,
Right.
use that data in your like trying to sync where you're at, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, I really like that. So it's a good segue to get into supplements. So one of the ones I've used, I'm postmenopause now. So I guess my early 50s is when I brought in the maca root. So that's a Peruvian
Yes.
root, which is pretty powerful. It's pretty easy it doesn't taste really good, ladies. I'll just warn you. It's something you
Okay,
can
have you
hide
done
in
some latte?
coffee. Huh?
Oh,
Excuse
have you
me.
done it in a latte though?
Oh yeah. Oh
A
yeah,
latte?
definitely.
It's so
Yes.
good. I love it. Okay,
Yes.
go ahead. Sorry.
Yes. No, that's okay. Yeah, I always have it in my coffee in the morning. So
Okay.
that just continues to be something I supplement for. And it's just a natural adaptogen. So it's going to kind of optimize what is already kind of naturally happening. And that's what I believe too. I think we should supplements are there to kind of, I think I said it earlier, just kind of fill in the gaps, give us that a little stronger kind of foundation and that armor that we try to get up and go out the door with, immune system, and just the longevity of it. So what is your, maybe it's hormonal base, but what supplements do you take? Can you share with what's on your list every day?
Okay, now that I have like gone through a protocol, and these are just like my quote unquote longevity supplements, I take Juice Plus every single day, the fruits, veggies, omegas. I think omegas, that's something else I probably should have added a while ago, but like when you're going through that phase, omegas are extremely important, and you want to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that you get those in. And what do I take? Okay, I take one that is for ATP and energy, which there's a few that I like. But basically something to boost ATP function. And then
Mm-hmm.
I take a DV3, which comes from Systemic Formulas. It is my very favorite D that I have ever tried. And I'm a little bit crazy, so y'all don't judge me when I tell you this. Most
I
people
like
are
it.
trying to get like 5 to 10,000 IUs of vitamin
Mm-hmm.
D. I
Yeah.
tend to believe that 25,000, around that number, is probably for optimal function, right? And so
Yes.
I take I take several of those a day.
Okay.
And I want to say too, some people are like, can't you just get D from the sun? And I'm like, well, you
Mm,
could. You also could get your fruits and veggies from fruits and veggies. I was losing my mind trying to get in. They now recommend like 15 servings of fruits and veggies a day, right? Trying to get all our
mhm,
phytonutrients in.
mhm, mhm.
I was getting about that. I was probably getting 10 to 12 a day. Um, but it's really hard. It's exhausting to do.
Yeah,
And
understood.
so,
Yeah.
I always tell people if we can get like 2 to 3 each meal and then supplement, right?
Yeah.
With and it's a whole food supplement, like it has a nutrition label on it because it's food, it's no tax on it. Um,
Mhm.
a food-based supplement, it's a whole food supplement. And so, anyway, that's my like five
That's
that
kind
I
of your
take
protocol.
every day. Yeah.
Nice, nice.
And I do a detox once a year. Um, just I think, we have like I like sushi, for example.
Mhm.
Well, there's mercury, right?
Yeah,
And there's
right.
also all kinds of parasites and
That's
things
true.
that can wreak havoc on our bodies. So I do a full detox once a year. I think we all could benefit
I
from doing one once a
totally
year.
agree. Totally
And then
agree.
just
Yeah.
continuing to, support our bodies with minimal. Like I don't take a ton. I don't think 5 is a ton. Back whenever I first started this, I thought 5 was a ton. But now I don't. And I will tell you, whenever I don't take them, I do see a difference, even if I'm working really hard on my nutrition and doing all the right things, right?
Right. Yeah,
So,
totally get that.
and
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
too, when we look at this, even when I was getting 10 to 12 servings in a day, our soil is not what it used to be. Our
Yeah.
food is not as nutritious as it was 50 years ago,
Yeah.
right? So, I'm always like, you have to like look at where you're at, the environment you're in. Like, there's environmental toxins all around us. So, take
Hmm.
some of these on a regular basis, and then
Absolutely.
doing a detox once a year, in
Right.
my
Right.
opinion, is a pretty good.
I
Um,
totally agree. Yeah. And, this is something I'm going to start probably talking more about with my own clients is because I've gone through the detox and in the protocol I'm going to be starting as soon as it comes. I'm waiting for it to come in the mail. I can't wait to get started on it. It's basically just immune support
yeah,
and probiotics, prebiotics, and all of that. So it's just nice. And that can be a little scary. I wouldn't recommend just grabbing stuff off the shelf. You really, it's better to, work with a specialist, work with a functional medicine doctor. There's tests. And I know I had Kelly Schmidt on here just a few weeks ago. That was a great conversation. She has a lot of great resources, GI mapping. She's got think I want to call it a wheat belly. I hope I'm not butchering that name. Yeah, I think that's the test that she recommends. Again, it doesn't have to be expensive. It really, like you say, a cleanse is not going to hurt you. That's almost like a no-brainer. Why not? Why not? Do that ahead of time. And you mentioned D3, which is funny because you and I both live in Florida. So people
yeah,
are like, oh gosh, you live in the Sunshine State, which means what?
right.
Does it mean we're out baking in it? But it's so hard for our body to really get what we need, absorb it, keep it. Now, does your D3 include a K2 as far as making it
It
more
does.
available?
Yes, I
Okay,
should have
I
said that.
figured it did. Yeah,
It has
yeah,
K2A, it has calcium in it. It's a very like well-rounded. It's not just vitamin D.
gotcha.
It's a
Yes, and magnesium is important too to make that
yes.
available. Yeah, so and those are just things that you and I continue to learn. I know through all of our studies and people that we follow, the doctors, functional medicine doctors that we follow. Some great resources out there.
Yeah.
And one of the things too that I wanted to, you mentioned omega threes; those are really powerful. And we've had the topic of D3 on here before, vitamin D3. It's just essential. And I don't know about you, but that's one of the first things I ask because a lot of clients will come to me and they'll share their blood work. I'm not an expert. I don't pretend to be, but there are some obvious things that I can see and I will point them out. They can go back to their doctor, to inquire about that because it's always up to the doctor to say yes or no to certain supplements. But D3 is one of those that it needs to be, what's the recommended range now? It's like 35 to maybe
Okay.
55,
I don't know
right?
the conventional ranges.
Yeah.
I go by functional ranges, and so ours
Mm-hmm.
is 80. We like it to be 80 or above.
Yes, I completely agree. And I keep mine close to 100. I was able to do that because I was very low at one point until I got on board. That was probably 10 years ago.
Mhm.
And I was in the 30s and wondering why my insulin resistance was starting to show. And all that kind of happened around perimenopause for me, too. So, all of that, it was just a hot mess. But it's important to look at those important vitamins and minerals and to see where you are lacking. D3 is easy, again, a good supplement that you can find. It's not expensive. It's just one of those things that's just essential for every single one of us, for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
I agree.
So
Like,
yeah, yeah.
I'm all about the D3. I actually have practitioner friends that I tell them like try 25,000 and they're always like you're nuts, and then they try it and they're like okay, you're not nuts. I was nuts to not think that,
Yeah, yeah. And it's hard to go over, to get too
Yeah.
much. Our body does
Well, and that's a question I get all the time like, well,
mm,
am I going to overdose my body on it? And I'm like, well, if you're completely deficient of it, probably not.
right,
you know,
exactly.
and
Right. It's
Yeah.
just important to get, the
Kind of,
levels
you
tested
know,
maybe twice a year just to see that you're staying. And
yes.
that's just another example of consistency.
Yes.
When your body's thriving on it, needs it, and to keep those levels steady, especially during cold and flu season, all the things
Yes.
with
Wonderful
it,
for your immune system. Yeah.
yeah, just attacks are, and it really does impact insulin sensitivity too, because vitamin D is a hormone. So,
Yes.
and all those hormones really need to be happy. And the word balance is such a trite kind of word because I don't think there's really any balance. It's just really optimal and just trying to keep them all
Yes. That's what I always say.
working together.
Optimal functioning, right?
Yeah,
What do
right.
I call it? Optimal functional balance.
Mm-hmm.
Optimal balance function. Like we want it to function properly. That's where we want
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And another thing, we're going to want to talk a little bit more about diabetes in general. It just, the things that we talk about, I think there tends to be a separation, especially when we're going to our endocrinologist, for those A1Cs, those, we're looking at the numbers throughout the months and maybe even we're looking at them closer when we're going to the doctor, time and range, all those. But the number is a number, but it's not really. It's supported by all the things that you and I are talking about: the lifestyle, the sleep, the hydration, the exercise, all the things we talk about here. And I like the opportunity to bring different women like you on here that can reiterate how important it is. And not only that, but you have a story, and I think many of us do. We know what it was before, and luckily we were able, to see what was missing, what was out of whack, really, and to help, to get that supported. But endocrinologists, they're in their own silo. They are, they're looking at your A1C. They might be looking at your pump settings, all those things that, the CDCES certified diabetes educators will help you and support you with. But it's the whole picture. And that really is what functional health is. And well, another thing that I think is funny, and I believe you probably work with your clients the same way. They think when they start working with us that we're just going to hand them a meal plan or just tell them what to eat or tell them what not to eat, right? I think that's the big thing. Well, are you telling me I can't have hamburgers anymore? And it's like, no, 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 no. It's not that. It's really looking at, and what we studied in school was the primary foods. And that is really, and you were talking earlier about your story with the stress and, what was going on in your family. And you can assume that was triggering some other things, that was happening with your body, and how connected that is. And I think that's why even more, how prevention is really, really important. And, our relationships and our faith and how important. I know I speak very openly about my faith in God on this show. And Casey Parker comes in. She's a fellow T1D. And we talk about her book a lot, how important that foundation is and that strength is, because we can't do it alone. But the same thing, I think, really it comes from all these things that you and I are just talking about, and all the things that you've brought here today is how important it is to get these things, these habits, consistently. And the number one thing I think is just having that overall understanding that, number one, your body is here to heal. You can seek help to get that, to get there. Blood sugar, hormones, menopause, all those things that we're going through, ladies. And how much time and suffering this saves.
Yeah.
Not to mention money. You think, time and suffering costs money, and the strain it puts on relationships, when we can get more of a, it'd be on the front end of it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly. When you're talking about stressors, that 100%, I think, is one of the reasons that I was going through so much of what I was going through. I like to talk about, I talk about it probably too much. I probably annoy people talking about it. But we have like stress management, and then we have stress resiliency in our bodies. The way the Lord designed them is actually we can build up a stress resiliency within our bodies through different techniques. that are all like really simple. Like breath work is one of the biggest ones. And I'm like, how amazing. When I really sit and think about it, I'm like, how amazing we have this breath work tool. And I know it can get a little woo-woo, like whatever. But at its basic conception, right? Breath work.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord gave us the breath in our lungs and he gave us
Mm-hmm.
spirit, right? Like he created us this way. We just need to really learn. And I think back in the day, they probably knew way more of this than like now we're like, it's almost like we've had to relearn these things, right?
I agree. Yes.
But learning how to build up stress resiliency is going to be one of your best tools in your tool belt when it comes to longevity and lifetime of health. And the reason being, when we have that stress resiliency, when our body can fight that on its own, then we don't, we don't have, immediate fallbacks to chronic health issues or whatever
Yeah,
it is. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to add that because when you said that about stress, I'm like, that 100% is true.
absolutely.
And, you
Yeah.
know, we can combat that with many strategies that don't even
Mhm.
cost anything, like
Yes,
it doesn't cost
yes.
it costs you time, but it's time really worth spending,
I know, and we can take it wherever we go.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm right in the middle of a master class inside my community this week, and that is one of the things we're working on: box
Mhm.
breathing.
Yeah.
There's different types of breathing techniques, but it focuses on just the simple things, and so available. Just stopping and concentrating on just your breath, and just focusing on it's amazing what it does, just calms that parasympathetic nervous system. And for those of us with diabetes, cortisol is not something we like to have to deal with. So
Yeah.
that is a driver of glucose. And in most cases, it's a need for more insulin. So, and acute care, or I should say, acute stress is kind of part of life, and we know that's and that's what the body was designed to protect us with. But the chronic stress that we're seeing, the continued, and I don't think our body even knows how what to do with that anymore. It's a little scary, but the first thing we can do is talk about it and just
Yeah.
recognize it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Recognizing that in the first place is one of the biggest.
Hmm.
Then you can shift from there. You can change things, but you can't
Yeah.
change it if you don't know yet.
There you go. Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you have a patient story that you can share with us today?
Patient story. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, okay, for the record, I can't call them patients legally, but
Clients. Yes.
sorry,
Yes.
sorry.
Yes.
Um, okay, can I share this story? Because I think it's so important and it's something I've been
Hmm.
on a lot lately. We talk about circadian medicine all the time and just getting our bodies back into the natural rhythms that they're designed to be in.
Hmm.
And I have a Facebook group. So this is not like an actual client, but I have a Facebook group. I did have a client meeting with this girl. But that was it. Like that's the extent of us like meeting. So she didn't even do a protocol or anything. So I just want to like preface that. And
Hmm.
I think the reason I want to share this is because like we're talking about some of these things don't cost anything. Like it's just your time and a little bit of effort. And
Hmm.
she has had sleep issues, a mom, she has a baby, right? Of course, she's had some sleep issues. We all do in the
Sure.
beginning, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But trying to combat that, she wanted to see what she needed to do functionally. And she was actually maybe the first person that I ever was like, this is not a good fit for you because I think you need to work on circadian rhythm first and maybe some nutrition. And that's about it. Um,
Hmm.
and she did one of my circadian rhythm challenges and has stopped taking sleep aids and is sleeping better. And I just think that alone, like just doing, and the circadian rhythm challenges are simple. Like get 15 minutes of sunlight in the
In
morning
the morning. I
before
love that.
10 a.m.
Yes.
Maybe right after
Hmm.
you wake up, that's ideal. But if you can get it before 10 a.m.,
Hmm.
that alone can shift things in our bodies. There's a chemical response. We're talking about cortisol. That
Hmm.
alone, just doing that can change your cortisol levels.
Hmm.
It's crazy. And yeah,
Hmm.
supplements are wonderful. And I love a good supplement protocol that are like do what it needs to do, get your body to do what it needs to do, right?
Hmm.
But just getting sunlight in the morning, there's a chemical
Hmm.
response that happens inside of our brains that,
Yes.
all of these different hormones start doing what they're supposed to do. And within just a matter of a couple weeks, she is sleeping better and is no longer taking medication. I just think
Yeah.
that's amazing. amazing.
I
Um,
love
and
that.
it's
I
just
love
a
that.
testament to
Yes.
lifestyle medicine, you know?
Yes. Good
So
for
anyway, that
you.
wasn't like
Yeah.
a full-on client story, but I think it's one of the coolest. Like she wasn't even actually a client, just did a simple lifestyle
Just a
trick,
conversation you had
right?
with her. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're all about simple. So yeah, and that again, that's something attainable. Again, assuming you live where you have sunlight exposure in the morning. And I
Yeah.
know that
That's
there's
the
going to
hard
be days but overall, that's, because guess what? In Florida here, we don't always have sunshine either. Don't
Yeah,
make that,
keep talking. Hey, I
especially
talked to
all
my
the rain
operations.
we had.
Yeah, that's what I told my operations manager that yesterday. We were talking about it and just about vitamin D and like who needs a supplement, blah, 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 right? And our circadian rhythms. And I was like, it's kind of crazy because and we were also talking about essential oils and like which ones to use for different seasons, right? Because I love essential oils. I also have like a herbalist certification, all that stuff too, right?
Okay.
And so I was talking and telling her, like, actually, I use all the citrus oils and like up my vitamin D in the summer because it rains all the time. Even though it's sunny outside, it rains, and then it either rains and we're stuck in the house, or it is scorching hot
So
out there.
hot.
Like walk outside and say, I want to go back inside. And so
Yeah.
I don't want to keep them out there. I mean, they get so hot. And so we come back in and then we're like stuck inside. And I don't have windows in my living room. I call it the bat cave. And I'm stuck in the bat cave all day in the summer here, Anyway, not really,
Yes.
but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. It goes to show you, yeah, we all have to adapt to what we
Yes.
have or don't have. So yeah,
Yeah.
and there's definitely a plan. So before we go today, I would love for you to share. You've shared so much today. 3 tips
Okay.
that our listeners can take with them. And you just said one 2 minutes ago about the circadian rhythm. And again, that was one of the ones that we did in my masterclass this week as well. So isn't that funny? We've talked about 2 that are simple, attainable, generally speaking. Sunlight in the morning is attainable for all of us, but the breathing and the sunlight, just to reset and to get that cortisol, because again, that was the focus of our class, was just trying to understand cortisol and
Yeah.
its impact on blood sugar and insulin resistance and its tie in with the hormones. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what else do you have for us?
Okay. 3 more. Those are usually
Those are 2. Those are 2.
morning sunlight. Okay. 3 really quick tips. Well, that is my biggest one. Get your circadian rhythm in order. That will change the ball game for you. But yeah, get sunlight in the morning. If the only thing that you can do is get some sunlight in the mornings, and if you can't, then just try your best to get it as early in the day as you can. What are my other ones? Let me think for a second. I am really big on getting our fruits and veggies in. I just talked to one of my best friends the other day. We were business partners for a while, and this I was really against taking like a fruit and veggie what do you call it, supplement for a while, because I was like, I'm getting all my fruits and veggies, right? Like I was working my honey off to do it, right? And it has been a game changer for me. And the more I think about it, if we're getting that in, right? If our bodies are designed to heal themselves and we're giving them what they need to actually do that, like all these other supplements, like they're cool. We have all these adaptogens, like they're great, right? But at a basic level, we all need fruits, veggies, we need those phytonutrients in order to function properly. And so I was talking to her and just saying how the more I think about it, if we could just get people to get in, as many fruits and vegetables as they can throughout the day, obviously enough protein, like that's a huge one. But if we can get them to have enough fruits and veggies, we can fix their microbiome. It might take time, right? Like it took me 2 years before learning the blood work stuff, but I was making progress. My body was changing, things were changing, right? If we could just get everybody on that for the long term, that would change their bodies. That would change their body, would have what it needs to do what it's supposed to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I
exactly.
was
Yeah.
finding, if it's not Juice Plus, that's fine. Like, do what you want. But that with some omegas and vitamin D, if you can add those, just those into your day, yeah, that would be my second one probably. And then,
Mm-hmm.
okay, for number three, I just say get water in. People don't get enough water in.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody I
Hydration.
know gets enough
Mm-hmm.
water in. I
Yeah.
actually am reading a book by a doctor. He is actually local to Florida too. But he had a client who had migraines for years.
Mm.
Told her to up her water intake. I forgot how much he told her to drink, to up her water intake. And in 2 weeks, her migraines were gone.
I believe that.
They never came back.
Absolutely.
And I'm like,
Yes.
we're just dehydrated. We're like so chronically
Uh-huh.
dehydrated. And that makes a huge difference,
It
especially with people with
does.
chronic health issues. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Big
Actually,
driver.
one tip that
Yeah.
I forgot her name. Oh, that's terrible. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I was on
It's okay.
another podcast recently and she had someone share because she does like a quick tip at the end too.
Mm-hmm.
She had a lady share that she puts a straw in her water and that alone had helped her drink more water for whatever
Yeah.
reason. Like it's a
Okay.
psychological thing, maybe. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
like a texture, something. I don't know what that is. But I ordered one of those cups that kind of looks like what are those? What are the like the popular cups? Stanley's. It looks kind of like a
Mm-hmm.
Stanley, but it
Mm-hmm.
has a straw in it. And I'm telling you, my water intake. I don't know what it is about drinking out of a straw.
Yeah.
Something about it. It
Yeah.
has changed that for me even. And I'm like pretty
Mm-hmm.
good about getting on my water in and drinking it first thing
Yeah.
I wake up. All the things.
Yeah.
But getting a cup with a straw in it, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
that is a really good quick tip that doesn't cost
Yeah.
us much, right? So
Yeah.
that's all I
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. I like that. And we can make that choice. That's something I've suggested with my clients. The ones that just don't want to have
Yeah.
or they have that aversion to the water. I like, to get yourself a pretty cup, something that's very eye-catching and stylish, or whatever that look or feels like for you, and have it available, have it in sight, take it with you wherever you go. And just like you said with the straw, it's something that's going to motivate them. It's something new. It's something kind of cool. It's something they can control.
Yes.
And yeah.
Something else I tell my clients that like really like that aversion to water is a real thing. And something else that I tell them, it's a good way to
Mm.
get some minerals in first thing in the morning too, is to put a pinch of like real salt, red
Mm.
real salt, I think is what
Yeah.
it's called.
Yeah.
To
Mm-hmm.
just put a pinch of salt in it for whatever reason. Well, obviously the minerals, like your body's craving it. So then your body wants more of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And most of us, if we are dehydrated, we're probably not getting enough, vitamins and minerals as
Right.
well. And
Right.
so
Those electrolytes. Yeah.
yeah, those electrolyte, all of it. And so that alone is a helpful tool because your body will then want more. So that aversion will go away. So
Mm.
just a
Yeah.
side
Just
note there.
gotta, yeah, good point. Good point. Yes. Sometimes we got to out trick our thoughts and our bodies, our taste buds
Yeah.
for sure. Well, I appreciate meeting you. This has been a very fun conversation, a lot of good things, and definitely going to link all of the contact and ways to get in contact with you. But just share with our listeners. I know you have your own podcast, so tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, it's called Functional Medicine for Women. I know that's like super. Everybody wanted me to come up with like a fun, cool name, and I was like, I have nothing. We're just going to call it Functional Medicine for Women because that's what we're talking about.
Right to the point. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we talk about all things. I talk a lot about circadian rhythm on there, a lot about that. I talk about supplements. I talk about just all things functional health, but always tying it back to women's health. I mean, there are some things that we don't like that don't pertain to us, and so that's not on the show.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, it's very basic and simple. It's just functional medicine for women.
I like it. Very nice. Yes, and we'll be sure to link that here as well, so listeners can listen in and follow you. So thanks again, Lacy.
Yeah, thank you for
And we only live a couple hours away,
yeah,
so
need to get together.
we definitely need to plan a play date, right? For sure. That would be amazing. Well, thanks again, everybody. And be sure to follow Lacy. And we will be back in here, same time, same place next week. And have a great week. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to the Type 1 Midlife Podcast. We are so grateful for the time that we spent together today. And if this conversation resonated with you, or you just love connecting with others living with T1D, please take a moment to leave a rating and review. Your feedback helps us reach more people who need this community and resources. And if you realize you need more support than you're currently getting, remember you don't have to struggle alone. Visit me at abundanthealthwithmelissa.com for free resources on mastering type 1 diabetes in menopause and to stay connected and learn about my coaching programs. We look forward to being together next Monday. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a single episode. Remember that together we can age gracefully with type 1 diabetes.